Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon and welcome to AvPlan EFB webinar for beginners. My name is Krisha and I'll be walking you through the webinar this afternoon. This webinar will be presented to you in two parts. Part one will be walking you through settings, setting up AvPlan and understanding the map and its functionality. Part two will be assembling a flight plan, looking at advanced weather features and exploring the terminal page. Welcome on board. When you first open AvPlan, you'll see the screen exactly as I have set up. Stand by one while I just open my cursor. Beg your pardon. Here we go. All right, cursor. So, as you see, we have the flight plan on one side and the map on the other. When you open the iPad initially, the app initially, you'll see all your previous flight plans here listed. And the flight plan you flew last will be at the bottom. As you can see, mine is rather messy here. So let me show you how you could clear those up. Say, for instance, you want to remove one flight plan. You simply slide your finger from left to right over the flight plan, which activates the delete button, and that tidies it up. In our next upcoming release, we will have a filing system for your flight plans that will make them a little bit neater to store. Down the bottom here, if you want to search for a flight plan, you can import by using your call sign here. And to dismiss that, just pop your finger on the dismiss button here. I just wanted to walk you through these basic features of what you have when you open AvPlan to understand that every time you open, you'll always have your previous flight plans on the left and your map on the right. Follow me now, though, to this symbol here at the top of the map. By pressing this symbol, we now tuck our flight plan underneath our map, allowing us to have a full screen map. I'm going to stay on this full screen map for the purpose of this demonstration to allow more space for you to see the features. Okay, now follow me down to settings and we'll have a look at setting up AvPlan correctly. Let's begin with data downloads. Before we go flying, we want to make sure that all our data is current. The data validity is always posted in the top right corner, and you can see here that my data is valid until the 21st of May. We'll also know our data is valid because it's green here and here. And as you can see, when I pinch out, I have no data for these sections of Australia here. That's because I've chosen only to download the data for New South Wales, Canberra, Victoria, the ACT and Tasmania, because these are the areas in which I fly. Should I want to go to Queensland tomorrow, I'll simply tap on the Queensland square of the map and download the data there. When you download the data for the particular area, it brings across your maps, your charts, your Earthler pages, your country airstrip guide, etc. Everything you need. So if this is green, you're good to go. If you're not good to go, the data panel will turn red and you'll have an update red button here. So before you go flying, do make sure that your data is green and that your update is not red. If you want to choose extra maps that don't belong to the area that you've downloaded, you can pop to other downloads and click on the particular map that you like. As you can see here, I've downloaded the PCA, but we have maps for all the country here. And by scrolling down, you can select on any extra maps that you might like. All right, once we know that our data is downloaded and we're good to go flying, I just want to make sure that we've set up AvPlan properly. Part of my role in AvPlan is to work on the help desk, and a lot of the queries that come through the help desk are due to AvPlan not being set up properly in the first instance. So if we do set it up properly in the first instance, we will have fewer problems. So let's just walk through that now, just making sure that everything is set up on your iPad correctly. Follow me through. Whenever we see an arrow on the end of a line, that means that there's a second menu, and we can press on that second menu and have a look behind it. So here, for instance, is your account set up and where you can manage your password there if you need to change your password. So when you first join AvPlan, you'll set up, log in, and AvPlan will store your account details here. Following me down now, here are the automatic weather downloads. And if you tick those on, AvPlan will automatically download the weather for you in the background. This is a very useful feature to have because it means that you don't have to push for your weather. Just everything just cycles around in the background doing it for you. Here is your flight simulator interface. We won't be going into that today. The waypoint auto sequencing, make sure you have this turned on so that we can sequence between waypoint and waypoint. The next three, airspace warnings, runway warnings, terrain warnings, are optional. If you're not flying if you don't want to know anything about your airspace, you're not flying in controlled airspace, you may not want to have your airspace warnings on, but I recommend you have all three of these turned on. If you taxi onto a runway, say for instance a grass runway that doesn't have very clear runway markings, AvPlan will tell you by giving you a little drop down, letting you know that you're about to enter a runway. Ditto terrain and ditto airspace. So these are handy to have on, but if you want to, tick them on here by toggling. Next one down is audible notifications and warnings. And as I said before, if we have an arrow, we have a second menu. So let's click on that arrow now and go to the second menu. AvPlan allows you to Bluetooth your iPad to your headset if you have a Bluetooth capable headset, such as the Bose or BlueLink. And also if you're perhaps in a glider or a jet, you can just Bluetooth to the speakers and have AvPlan come out of the speakers. Once you've decided to Bluetooth AvPlan to your headset and or speakers, you can then choose what kind of voice you'd like to have. So we have a female voice, this is Avril, and a male voice, this is Avery. Choose whether you want to be told what to do by a female or a male, and as you can see here, I like a man to tell me what to do, so I've chosen Avery. Moving down to the next section, this is where you decide what you'd like Avril or Avery to tell you about. So I have everything on here because I like to be informed and I like to be informed audibly. So airspace notifications will let you know if you're changing airspace and so on and so forth. Particularly useful are the frequency change notifications and the battery status notifications. It's quite easy to forget when your battery is running low. And this is a reminder to fly with a backup portable battery if you don't have USB ports fitted into your aircraft. Let's go back up to the top now and back to user settings. Okay, next user settings I want to show you, automatic data download. Tick this, and when you're on a Wi-Fi network, AvPlan will automatically update your data in the background without you having to do anything at all. If you're not on a Wi-Fi network and you try and get data, AvPlan will tell you. We're very polite like that, and we'll send you a little notification saying, are you sure you want to download this as you're not connected to Wi-Fi? So do have this one ticked if you're on a Wi-Fi network. Next one, default aircraft icon. You can change, as you can see once again, we have a second menu here, and you can change your icon, your aircraft icon here. So you'll default to a piston single. But you may fly a twin, a helicopter, a jet, or you might be Paul Bennett flying a Wolf Pitts. You can change those here. Back to user settings. Here are your printing options. Auto waypoints in plan, which we won't be talking about today, but perhaps in the second webinar later on. Full screen flight plan. So this allows you to have a full screen for every pane. Rather than splitting, you'll have your flight plans here. Your planning will be full screen. Your en route will be full screen. As you can see, your settings will be full screen. So if you don't want this and later on you want a split screen, turn this off now for your split screen. As you can see, I am using the full screen method up here, which is a separate way of accessing full screen, a toggle. Follow me down now to AvPlan EFB cloud services. This is very important that you have these ticked if you're using more than one device. Your AvPlan subscription allows you to use AvPlan across 3 devices. So in order for those devices to sync and speak to each other, you need to have these turned on all the devices. Furthermore, if you do tick or sync flight plans and sync aircraft, it syncs it to our AvPlan cloud service, which means that if you lose something, we can often retrieve it for you. So it's a good way of backing up your flight plans and your aircraft database there. Follow me now down to pilot details. This is where you'll put in your name, your phone number, and your NAPES details here. Pilot capabilities, if you have anything in there, which I don't. and your NAIPS details. So NAIPS, or if you're in New Zealand, IFIS, you'll need to log in once, and once you log in, it will keep all the information that you've given NAIPS, including your address, etc. there, which we will use later, flight plan filing. Excuse me. Back to user settings. Very important also that you tick the data for the country that you're in. If you are changing countries, don't forget to come to settings and tick the data for the new country that you're in, particularly important for those of you who are toggling between New Zealand and Australia. Make sure you've got the right one ticked there. Other settings, here, not many I want to go through, but I would like you to turn on send debug information, please. And then if anything happens specifically to your iPad, if you have a crash or an anomaly, we'll be able to find that for you much more simply if you've got your debug turned on. Also following me down now, just one last thing. You can change your application colors. So later on, you'll see you can have your track color in green, and I always assume it's green, but of course you can change it to any color you like. You can change all the colors on your map, and also the heads-up display text color. I've chosen orange here today, but you can change that to any color you like. Pick the colors you're most comfortable with there. Back to user settings. Okay, so we've taken a look at data downloads and we've taken a look at user settings. Not going to work through these in this webinar here. What I'd rather do instead is focus on getting you set up on the map. So follow me down now to the en route, and en route means map. These panes along the bottom are the panes that you're going to toggle to change subjects, as it were. So you've got everything pertaining to planning, everything pertaining to your map, everything pertaining to the airport, weather, documents, scribble pad, and settings. So once you're familiar with these, and I urge you to get familiar by having a good play, then you'll know instantly where you need to be for whatever section of your flight planning you're doing. So now we're just going to keep the map open, and I'm going to walk you through map customization. Over the years that AvPlan has evolved and developed, we've added a lot more features. And of course, not everybody wants all of the features all of the time. So we've given you the ability to customize those features. But anything pertaining to the map, anything we take on and off the map, will be controlled here in the settings icon on the en route page. As you can see, when we press on that icon, we have a really large list of features that you can toggle on and off. Let's walk through some of those features now, and I'll tell you what they do. And I'm also going to suggest that you have a real play with these. If you get a chance to perhaps spend some time in the right-hand seat, take AvPlan Flying and turn these features on and off and see what you like and don't like. Of course, what you like and don't like will also be very tied to the kind of flying that you do. And some of these you definitely won't want. So let's walk through them now. Extended runway center lines, I'll show you these in action when we talk about the flight planning later. We will need to put a flight plan in to show the runway extended center lines. Suffice to say that the center lines are 5 nautical miles, and they are the interwind runway will turn green. We'll show you those later. Again, airport glide range, not going to go into this one on this webinar either. Suffice to say once more, it simply gives you the glide range specific to the aircraft that you're using and the altitude at which you're flying. Talk about that more later. Airspace and active airspace, you'll certainly want active airspace turned on, and this will allow notifications that you're changing airspace. Airports, you'll want those on so that you can see the airports. Helicopter landing spots, you'll want those on if you fly a helicopter, and ALA you'll want on if you're going anywhere to a small airport. So as you can see here, Camden is a registered certified airport, so that will come under airports, but Wilton down here, beneath to the south of Camden, that's an ALA. So if you switch ALAs on, you'll see Wilton there, and there are plenty of examples of those all the way across the country. Fuel availability is a setting that you may only want to have on occasionally. Perhaps, for instance, if you have to do a diversion or you're going to an airport, you want to find out whether it has fuel. By toggling fuel availability on, we'll now show you, here we are, and if I widen out, you'll see all the fuel stations across the area here, here, and also the fuel prices here, and here. They do get rather cluttered if you have too many of them on, so toggle those off after you've found out where the fuel availability is. Ditto for the obstacle database, exactly the same. It will show you all the obstacles across the map. Your nav aids, and those on, then they'll all be marked on the map. User waypoints you'll want toggled on if you're going to make or use any user waypoints. And your VFR waypoints, which I'll be demonstrating when we do flight planning in the next webinar, you'll certainly need those on. And if you're IFR, toggle those on here. Ditto your routes, high and low if you're IFR, and if you're VFR, leave them off because you'll find they clutter your map. FIA, Airspace and R4 boundaries are useful to have switched on so that you can see your boundaries there on the map. As you see here, our R4 boundaries are in green. Okay, coming to the left-hand side, show aircraft track is a posthumous feature in that it will show you after you've flown your flight. So come back to the plan after your flight and you'll see the exact track that you've flown, which is useful for students and instructors in particular. Switch that on if you want to see your aircraft track and switch it off if you don't. Annotate map, if we click this, up pops a little toolkit here, which allows us to annotate the map in many fashions. We can draw on the map with a pen, we can change the kind of pen that we have, we can type and make text, we can leave little remarks, perhaps reminding us to book a taxi or whatever. We can erase the last stroke that we made, or we can erase everything by pressing along here. To make this go away, simply toggle it off. Terrain overlay we'll be talking about when we do flight planning, as I can't really show you the effectiveness of the terrain overlay until we have our altitude. We'll come back to terrain overlay when we come back to runway center lines. Traffic, this is a very handy one to have on, and you can see right here, here's some traffic moving. BSM, it's altitude, and it's airspeed there. So we can see BSM is flying at 6,146 knots. And if we tap on BSM there, a little line coming off the aircraft to show us the aircraft direction so that we can see that that is going in a southwesterly direction there. Let's go now back up to the setting. So what you'll see with AvPlan traffic, 150 nautical miles. You'll see AvPlan, any AvPlan users, and also ADSB equipped users in AvPlan. Unfortunately, you won't see the competition's traffic because they won't share it with us. Follow me down to the cursor. You can switch the cursor on here if you want to. I don't particularly like it, so I'm going to switch it back off again. This one's useful. Show map scale. This allows you to see the scale of the map that you're in, so as you pinch in and out, the scale of the map will follow you there. As you probably all know, AvPlan works on a mega VFR map system. So we've stitched all the maps together across the entire country, so you never have to change your map. And then we've placed the VTC, the VNC, and the WAP pretty much on top of each other. So as you pinch in, you'll see here you have the Sydney VTC. As you pinch out, you get the VNC, and over the top there, it'll become the WAP. So you never really have to change your map unless you're flying IFR or you want perhaps access to the topo, and we'll be talking about that in a minute. Let's finish up now here. Heads-up display. Some people love it, some will hate it. I'm a big fan. Oh, just going to turn the map scale off, sorry. I'm a big fan of the heads-up display. So if you want it on, it'll be here. And as we showed you before, you can change those application colors. I've chosen a lovely orange for mine. You can have any color you want. We'll be talking about the heads-up display later again when we get back to them. The distance rings, you can pop these on, and these will be rings around your aircraft. You see them here. So we have 3, 10, and 25, I think 20 nautical miles around your aircraft. And of course, they'll follow you wherever you go. If you don't like those, turn them off here. I'll show you the rocket boxes when we have time, when we come back and we talk about the runway center lines. Route annotations you can turn on here, and your route markers you turn on here. We've given you a choice, especially great if you're a student or an instructor, to put in your 6-minute markers, your 10-minute markers, and your 10 nautical mile markers. So once again, anything pertaining to the map, anything you're going to take on or off the map, up here in the map. Let's toggle off that now, and we'll do the same with weather. So AvPlan offers you two weather features. We have weather pertaining to the map and what I call long range or planning weather, which is down here in its own separate pane. So right now we're going to be looking at weather pertaining to the map. Anything you want to overlay on the map or you want to have while you're in flight, you will access here in the weather pane. Firstly, this slider allows you to change the opacity of the display. Let's put it on full opacity and take a look at the weather radar overlay. Oh, we've got some huge rain. I'll be taking an umbrella out with me this afternoon. Huge rain in Sydney where I am at the moment. Wonderful way to demonstrate the weather radar overlay. Let's take a moment here to apologise to our New Zealand customers who don't have this function in New Zealand. Through no fault of AvPlan's, simply Met Service won't allow us to use their radar. So I'm afraid I'm just going to have to sit back and enjoy what we have here in Australia. If you want to know more about the rain that's travelling over Sydney at the moment, we can come down here and take a look at the recency, which is 5 minutes ago. And by simply pressing on that recency, we also get the legend letting us know how light, moderate or heavy the rain is. So you can see here we've got light to moderate rain over the Sydney basin. And to make that legend go away, simply tap once more. And as you can see, the recency has changed. And now this is a 1 minute old loop. Let's go back up to the radar, the weather, and turn off the radar. And let's pop on the satellite. And we'll have a look at New Zealand too here. I'll widen out. We'll take a little look at New Zealand and I'll show you how at least you get the cloud cover in New Zealand. There we go. Cloud cover coming up. Cloudy day in New Zealand there over the bottom part of the South Island. Here we are. Oh, in fact, over the whole country. And to turn that off, there we are. Oh, I'll just turn it back on again to demonstrate that also if you want to see the cloud density, pop down here exactly the same as the rain radar, tap in the corner, and that will allow you to understand and read the density of the cloud there. We'll pop that off and we'll go back to Australia. And take a look at some of the other functions here. So the animated overlays will obviously move and recycle according to time. So we've got surface pressure, freezing level, ceilings and viz. You can toggle any of these on and off at any time. The static weather overlays, rather as the name suggests, will stay on the map and they won't move at all. So let's take a look now at our metas. You'll most certainly want these on, and these are our graphical metas. So these give you a picture of what's happening with the weather. Let's take a look at one of those now over on the map. Let's have a look at this one here. So see, we have a little graphical meta here. So this is sitting over the top of the airport, and it gives you the wind direction and the wind velocity. I'm going to take a pinch down to Tasmania where we're bound to see something with a more demonstrative velocity. Yes, we do. Let's take a look at what I think would be one of the islands down here. Flinders, probably. You can see here on this island, we have a westerly, southwesterly wind, and we have 20 knots here as demonstrated on the tail. So if we click on that icon, first of all, we get the weather camera. It's Flinders Island, lovely Flinders Island. And here's the METAR here. Let's click on the METAR. And as we would expect, I said 20 knots. Here we are, 17 knots and 260 westerly wind there, as we'd expect. So we've given you a visual of the METARs. And the METARs are color-coded for weather too. Green being VFR, blue being marginal VFR, and red and yellow being IFR. Okay, so if you want to see those METARs, and they really are marvelous, we'll turn them on up here. Ditto you SIGMETs. I'm having a look around. I didn't see any SIGMETs. I'm just going to toggle that on and off. Have a look and see if we have any SIGMETs on the map today. If we do have SIGMETs, They're highlighted usually in a large yellow area coverage there. So if you do get to see a signet, you can tap on the signet and it will give you the actual signet details. And you can actually switch on a plain English signet as well by tapping on it again. So if one of those comes up during the duration of the demo, I will lead you that. But it looks like we're rather signet listeners here at the minute. A tough word to say. Okay, let's get back up here into our weather again. And we'll have a little look now at some of the other things that we can turn on and off. Lightning is marvelous. Can't see any out at the coast at the moment, but if you do, it's a static display, so it'll always be there if there's lightning. And you can turn your pilot reps on here and also your weather cameras. So if you don't like the weather cameras, this is where you can switch them off. Also, some people find it irritating that they're right over the airport. I think they're wonderful, so I like to keep mine on. There we are. Let me just pinch out and see if I can see any lightning. No, I can't. To demonstrate there. No lightning today. Oh, looks like there's a signet down here, if I can show you. By tapping on that signet, there you are. It's given you the plain English here, which is marvelous, particularly excellent if you're flying along with a non-pilot passenger, and you might see a signet near the area where you're approaching. You can tap on them and simply have them read it out to you in plain English, or if you like to see it in pilot speak, there it is. You can toggle it here. So that's an example of a signet. Glad I was able to show you that. Back up to, we've concluded with the weather. Next, we're looking at the chart. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we have one giant mega VFR map, which is probably all you need. But if you are doing something special or different, you might want to change your map. So you come up to the map icon right here, and this is where all your map choices are. For instance, if you are flying IFR, and you want the en route low, tap on it to change to the en route low, which will be exactly the same. It'll be the overlay, pinching in to get the tap here. So exactly the same two-layered map there. Or for instance, you might want a topographical map, and you can access that here as well under topo there. So if you do want to change your maps, you can change them up here. Ordinarily, we'll stick to the mega VFR map unless flying IFR. So let's switch back to that now for the demonstration of this, for the purpose of this demonstration. And I'll show you the search function. So this search button isn't available on the iPhone. I feel I need to point that out in case any of you are flying on your iPhone, just due to the limited space of the iPhone and its size. But on the iPad, this is a wonderful feature that allows you to search for anything you want to on the map. So let's say, imagine we want to go to Gulgong, but we can't remember where it is. Simply put Gulgong in, and it'll say what you want to see in Gulgong. And I think we'll have a look at the ALA. So we'll click on that, and what will happen is a circle will come around Gulgong, a blue circle, until it shows you where it is, right there. Okie dokie. Following me along now, across the top of the en route page, I can show you the lock button. It will allow you to lock your map so that it doesn't move. The help button, which will put you straight through to me or Bevan. And the brightness button, which is marvellous in the hot parts of Australia, particularly if you're flying in a bubble canopy. You can change the brightness of your map there to stop your iPad from overheating. You can set up a fade to black, and you can set up a fade to black time. Okay. The direct to button we'll be looking at later when we talk about flight planning. What we're going to talk about next is the 5 icons down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map. So, as I said to you before, everything pertaining to the map that you can take on and off is found in the settings, except for 5 little icons down here, which are also things you can add to the map, but they're not really adding it to the map, they're more sort of overlaying it over the top of the map. So let's start with icon number 1, and that is Center Aircraft on Map. So as you can see, we've completely lost the aircraft on the map. We don't know where we are. So we want to know where we are. Click Center Aircraft on Map, and it will put you wherever you are, right in the middle of the map. As you can see, I'm here in central Sydney at the moment, and so that's where my aeroplane icon is. A word on the colour of the aeroplane icon too. So the aeroplane icon will change colour according to GPS receivability. So blue is best. That means you have the best GPS receivability. Red means you are receiving GPS, great GPS, but you don't get any heading information. And black is a note that your GPS is not very good at all and you should worry. AvPlan offers a range of solutions for GPS extenders as well as ADSB external devices, and you can find more information about these on our website under AvPlan Omni. If you want to add a GPS extender or an ADSB external device, we've got a list of devices that you can pair with AvPlan that work on AvPlan that are tried and tested. Personally, myself, I fly with a Garmin Glow and sometimes a Bad Elf GPS extender that helps sometimes I fly in a high wing aircraft and I find I just don't get the best GPS receivability. I find this extender just helps a little. So as I said, AvPlan Omni on our website if you want to find out more about that. All right, let's switch off the center aircraft on the map by pressing on it again and move over to the next icon here, which I can't really show you without having a flight plan in. So we will come to that again when we do flight planning in webinar 2. But what it does is it changes the orientation of your map. So just like in the old days when you were a student and your instructor would say, orientate the map in the direction that you're going, you can do just that by toggling this so you get track up, free rotation, north up, and so on and so forth. So each time you tap this, it will change the orientation of your map. The next icon is your HSI, which you can bring up over your map and you can pinch to make larger there and smaller. And to make it go away, simply tap on it again and away it goes. Sorry, it's a larger, smaller moment there. Well, we have a little bit of a lag on these ones. There we are, and away it goes. We'll also have some lag here on the synthetic vision. I'm going to pull that up. This is marvelous. Great to fly with. And if you want attitude input, you can pair this with a Stratus 3, which is an ADSB receiver, and you will get all sorts of further information on your synthetic vision there. Worth having a little play with. I'll toggle that off again. We'll just wait for that lag. And the next feature is profile. This is one that's very popular with our New Zealand customers who have quite a lot of terrain. And only recently I was doing a demonstration in New Zealand and realized that I'd actually flown through terrain, and the profile showed me that. So it's a great way of cross-referencing your altitudes there. As you fly along, you will see yourself relative to your flight plan there. And to toggle that off, then press on it again. Okay. So now I've spoken about some of the features on the map. In fact, I've spoken about all of the features on the map except for the heads-up display. As I mentioned before, if you don't like the heads-up display, you can turn it off up here. If you do like it, and I certainly do, you can also customize it. So my favorite feature on the heads-up display is the frequency, next frequency. So it will let you know, flashing when it's time to change frequencies and let you know what frequency is coming up next. So it's always got that eye on the frequencies for you, which is really, really handy. Also like AGL, I used to fly a Cirrus, so I used to like to know how far above ground I was, should I ever need to pull the chute. But you can customize it to anything you like. You can choose by holding on the pane with your finger until you get this drop-down menu. And in this drop-down menu, you have a myriad of choices here. Scrolls quite a long way. And so let's pop in our Q&H there. There you are. Now we've got our Q&H. It's a handy one to have. Each one of these panes is customizable, so have a play around and pick the things that you like. Righto. All that remains for me to say about the map now is a little bit about map functionality. So as you can see, we have our restricted and danger areas switched on. If we want to know more about the airspace on the map, double tap. Double tap will always bring up the airspace near where you've tapped. So do that again. I beg your pardon. Did a single tap there, double tap. Up it comes. So here's your QNH for area 21, and here are your various airspaces pertaining to where you tapped here. Sorry, double tap here, and you'll see Richmond. So if you double tap on a piece of airspace, a restricted airspace, and you want to know more about it, up the box will come, and it will allow you to drill down. As I said before, if there's an arrow, there's more information. So let's click on that arrow now, and we get a highlight of the area that we've tapped on. You see there it glowed. And we also get all the information pertaining to that airspace there, the start time and then time, etc. will all be here. We'll get all the information that we can for restricted area 470 there. Simply tap off to make that go away. So if you tap twice, you'll get anything pertaining to the sky, airspace, frequency boundaries, etc. But if you tap once, you'll get the waypoint box. And this is really useful. It's your nearest items box, sorry. And this will give you everything near where you've tapped. And of course, you can sort this, not just by airports, but if we toggle over to all, you give us everything in that area. So you can see I tapped near me. Actually, I just tapped near Manly. So you can see Mona Vale Hospital there, Long Reef Reporting Point. So if you are looking for something on the map and you can't see it, simply tap near where you think it will be, and this box will pop up. And then if you want to add one of the airports or waypoints or reporting points to your flight plan, which we'll be talking about later, you simply press the plus button here. To dismiss this, come down here and press dismiss. Okay, so we've talked about the settings and we've talked about the en route page, and we've set up and customized the map. The next demonstration is going to be about flight planning. I'm going to talk about that at length. But before we do, I just want to walk you through a couple of the other features that we have down here. Before we do our flight planning, or even begin making a plan, it's important that we understand that we have access to other things that pertain to our flight planning, such as long range weather planning. So here is our graphical area forecast. And when we have our flight plan in, that flight plan will be demonstrated there. And you can tap on an area to find out more about it. And you can toggle. So if you're doing a bit more long range planning and you want to see what it's like in 12 hours, you can toggle over here like this. So there's layers and layers and layers of interesting weather for planning along here. Here are your area briefings, your NAIPS charts, which you can then click on, and my favourite, winds aloft. When you have your flight plan in, it will focus over the area that you've planned, but this gives you a windy.com's wind chart that allows you to see the wind direction here, the currency down here, and you can toggle out up here in the corner. So it's a very interactive windy map. You also have your very useful bomb charts here. And if you click on those, you'll get the second layer. Sorry, a bit of a lag. There we are. So I clicked on those. Let's go back, close, and do that again. So when I clicked on bomb charts, I got a choice of 2 different kinds of bomb charts. I'm a big fan of the 4-day synoptics. So let's click on the 4-day synoptics and have a little look there. And there we are. Of course, you can print anything out by going to the printer icon at the top here. Let's go ahead and close that now. For those of you in New Zealand, your weather is underneath ours. And this is where you can get your MetFlight weather. So if you have a MetFlight account, as I do, or rather as Bevan does, you can log in here. And down here, it's a little bit hidden and a little bit grey, but down there is your Start Met Flight button. Okay, and there we are, the warning there, and there's your Met Flight details there. So if you are used to using Met Flight, you can do that inside AvPlan without leaving the app at all. Ditto MetJet if you have a MetJet account. And here are your New Zealand weather charts at the bottom there. There are your graphical forecasts there. There's plenty to play with there in the weather pane, but while we're talking about setup and finding our way around AvPlan, I find it useful to show you this. Also, the text pane. Sorry, there we are, that was one I did earlier. Here is everything pertaining to paperwork and documents. So you've got your SAP and your URSA and your DAPS and whatnot, and your NZ AIP. You can also bring in a pilot's operating handbook into AvPlan. So as you can see, I've done one earlier here. I brought in the SR22's POH, and you do it simply by emailing the POH as a PDF to yourself, opening up that PDF on your iPad, in your mail app, and when you press on open, you'll have an option to open in AvPlan EFB. Click on that option and that will bring your POH right here into the documentation section. Secondly, you can also import documents via your Dropbox. I must do this by linking my Dropbox. Link your Dropbox here, and then in your Dropbox folder on your laptop or desktop, you will see a folder called AvPlan EFB. Anything you put into that folder will appear right here under Dropbox files. Follow me through now, chart legends. So as we've made the map seamless from one end of the country to the other, we've clipped off all the legends that we used to be able to have a look at the corner of each map. So now if you want to see those legends, you'll find them right here. Let's have a look at the VTC. Here we are, there's the Melbourne Adelaide VTC, and there are the chart legends. And to come out of that, press close. And we can close it off there. Back to documentation. All that's left for me to tell you is AvPlan EFB documentation is embedded right here in the app. So if you ever need it, got your quick start guide, your user manual, and your EFB tutorials, which will take you out of AvPlan and onto our website, where you can find some very, very basic tutorials about getting set up. Okay, well, we will conclude webinar 1 here, having walked through settings, documentation text, weather, and map functionality on the en route page here. Just to recap, if you want to take anything on and off the map, up here in settings. If you want to change any weather on the map, up here in weather, change your charts here. A couple of little things down in the corner that are exciting to play around with, have a go on those. And if you want to bring your flight plan back, press this little button here and boom, your flight plan is back. I look forward to seeing you next time when we talk about flight planning and terminal. Thanks for listening. And if you have any questions, don't forget you can contact us right here through the live ring or on our website, avplanefb.com. Have a great evening. Thank you.